What's good, everybody? It's Jerome. I come back at you on a video. So this video is going to be all about growth because the title of this video is The Art of Evolving. Now, evolution has always been part of our life. It is part of nature, right? Because an example, right? You can have a caterpillar, and when the caterpillar eats enough and it grows enough, it gets into a cocoon, and in the cocoon is effectively morphing until it is able to break out as a butterfly, right? Evolution has always been a part of our society, right? When you plant a seed, it's planted in the ground, right? You can't see it because it's inside the soil. And then if it gets enough water, sunlight, nutrients, it will eventually sprout into a plant and, ideally grow into a tree. So things are meant to evolve, things are meant to change, right? That is one of the constants in the universe. Change, right? Because things are always going to change, right? Obviously, we have 8 billion people coexisting at the same time. So there's always going to be new inventions, there's always going to be new fads, new trends, right? The world is always going to keep advancing technologically, right? We're always going to be moving forward. With that understanding, you need to be doing the same as well, right? I hear it a lot, and I'm sure you've heard it many times, where there's a saying for someone, they'll say, "Oh, you've changed," right? And usually it has a negative connotation that you haven't been the same person this entire time, that you've become different. And my question to you is, how can you not? How can you not change? How can you not improve if change is the basis of the universe, right? That is a constant. And what you need to remember also is that if you're someone that remains the same, like 100% exactly the same, then that means you are going to continue getting the same results. And if you're looking at your life, your situation, your circumstances, and if it's not to your liking, then the only way to change these things is by changing you as a person, right? There's a quote that I've always held near and dear to my heart, and it says, if you want things in your life to change, you're going to have to change things in your life, right? If you want things in your life to change, you're going to have to change things in your life. That means you can't continue doing the same thing over and over and over, right? Same thing that's led to a set of results that are undesirable. You can't continue doing that same thing over and over, expecting something else to unfold from it, right? That's not how it works. A lot of times people, change is frowned upon, right? But I'm not saying that everything about you needs to change, right? You can still be a happy, jolly person. You can still maintain your personality, right? But you want to change the aspects of you that are undesirable. You need to be looking to improve, to better yourself, to grow, to mature. And one of the best ways to notice that you've matured is when you begin to realize that you are doing things differently, right? The things that used to bring you so much enjoyment back then, that were not healthy habits, if you will, are not no longer bring you that same joy anymore, or you're beginning to lose interest because you prefer to do things differently, right? I'll give you an example. Back then, during my time in college, right, I enjoyed socializing. I enjoyed going to parties. It was fun socializing with people, spending time with my friends, enjoying music, dancing, cool. That stuff was great. However, I felt that I did it just, because I also wanted to escape the academic, right? The academic rigor. I wanted to escape the studying it. If it was almost me trying to escape how things work, right? Because I wasn't always at my happiest being at school. Because I know, while I understand, school is important, I recommend everyone to pursue a higher education, I was not sure of what I wanted to study, the direction that I wanted to go in my life, right? And of course, the curriculum was academically rigorous. And so sometimes I was dealing with, personal things, and I didn't always have an outlet, and I didn't want to show that weakness to other people. And so I sort of use those social events, those parties, as my way to escape from everything. Me, where I'm at now, where I'm more mature, I've grown, I've improved, I've bettered myself as a person. I can be invited to social events with friends, and sure, it might be fun, but it doesn't bring me the same level of joy as it used to, right? It's sort of like, to some degree, deep down, it sort of almost feels like a waste of time. Not saying that like I don't appreciate my friends, and of course I enjoy spending time with my friends, but like it begins to feel like there's some people that go out that just love drinking, that love getting drunk, and it's like they'll wake up hungover, and then the whole next day is wasted. So not only did you spend the whole night staying up really late going out, you also are basically hungover the entire next day, and you don't want to do anything the next day. So it almost feels like 2 full days get wasted, right? And then it just no longer feels productive anymore. It feels as though the cons outweigh the benefits of it, right? And I have very little interest in doing that, right? I would much prefer to record a video for you guys. I would much prefer to work towards my goals and my dreams and take steps towards that, because at the end of the day, the partying and the social scene, that's always going to be there. It's never going to go away, right? My opportunity to pursue the things I want, I will have the option, but I won't always have as much time to do so, right? Of course, at some point in the future, right, I'll likely have a family and I'll have other responsibilities, right? So it's like right now is the perfect time for me to work on this. And I want to put my attention and focus on this. This is how I know that I've evolved. The other sign that you've grown and you've improved as a person is that you now have a change of mindset, right? Because you've now exposed yourself to new ideas, whether that's reading books, whether that's, learning from courses, learning from YouTube, from other people, from mentors, right? When you expose yourself to new ideas, and these are ideas that you actually adopt, right? They change your perspective of yourself, of society, of how the world functions, everything. And you begin to look at life differently, right? It's like you can't go back looking at life the same way that you used to, which means you can't go back living your life and operating the same way that you used to. This is evolving. And that's something to be happy about. That's something to be proud about. Because the reality is there's a lot of people out there that unfortunately never evolve. They're unhappy with how things are, but they don't want to take any action to change that, because that requires them to step out of their comfort zone and go to a place that's unfamiliar, right? To step into a place that they probably haven't been before. A lot of times evolving and maturing and growing means looking at yourself in the mirror. And many people are afraid of that because they're not proud of the person they are, right? I can look at myself in the mirror and smile because I know that of the person that I've grown into, the person that I've become, and that I will continue becoming, right? I'm proud of that growth. Many folks are afraid to have that conversation. Most people, they want to occupy their mind and occupy themselves with things that, with to-do list items, with different things, because they don't want to be idle. They don't want to have idle hands because they don't want to reflect. They don't want to think about their life, where things are at, the direction that they want to go, right? Because it's so much easier to just distract yourself than to reflect, right? The art of evolving is you effectively changing, right? And the reality is most people are normal people, or average people, if you will, right? And if you've exposed yourself to information that the average person doesn't know or is not aware of, right? And you're doing things differently, then eventually you might get to a point where you might be seen as misunderstood, right? That it'll be hard for you to continue doing the same things that you used to do with everyone else, because you as a person have changed. You've grown, you've improved, right? You just can't go back because you can't see everything the same way. See, that's a beauty, that's a blessing. It's a blessing because then you'll come to realize what's truly important in life. And that's your own joy, your happiness, your peace, the well-being of your friends and family, everyone you love and everyone around you. You realize that life is about joy, and you realize that life is about helping other people and serving other people, right? Most people have never understood that. I know some people that are senior citizens who are much, much older than me, that they've never learned that. They've never understood the reason why they're here, their purpose, the purpose of life, the purpose of this existence, everything. So it's hard for me to have a conversation. Of course, I can speak to them, right? But it'll be hard for me to have a conversation with someone and have that person understand me and be able, because most things will go right over their heads, right? Through one ear and out the other. When you evolve, you change, right? And embrace the change, embrace the growth, right? Embrace serving your purpose, because these are the things that are actually going to make you happy, right? Don't fall into the trap of everyone else, of trying to keep up with the Joneses, of when the new social media platform comes out, that everyone starts flocking there because everyone wants to be the first there, or everyone, right? Like, be your own individual person. Find out the things that you want to learn, the things that you want to experience, right? Go experience those things, right? Learn the skill sets that you want to learn, right? Begin designing yourself and your life the way you want it to be. If there's some things that you are unhappy about with yourself, as far as like your personality and your attitude, change that. You have the power to change that. You can adopt effectively new personalities. You can adopt a more positive, better attitude, right? You can change all these things. These are the things that are actually important, and you have the freedom to choose it and change it whenever you want, right? You can choose to wake up and be happy and be smiling from ear to ear and have a positive attitude each and every day, right? Nothing has to change, but you can do that, right? That is evolving as a person. That is changing. People will say that you've changed, but embrace it, because if the change ends up being positive, if it ends up being something that's a good thing, then that means everyone around you and everyone in the world is going to benefit from that, right? The whole world benefits a lot more from you being happy and you being positive and you having the right attitude than you having the wrong attitude. Because people with the wrong attitude typically find themselves in trouble with other people. People with the bad attitude typically don't have good relationships with other people, right? But if you have a positive attitude, then people want to surround themselves with you. Then you can share that same positive energy with other people. People are going to want to surround themselves with you. People are going to want to work with you, right? You become someone that's magnetic. You see how a simple change that you can make can have a major impact on the world as a whole, right? So the art of evolving is you maturing, improving, growing. This should be your focus. See, a lot of times people will look at their situation, it not be an ideal spot, and they'll like run or travel across the entire world trying to find that external answer, right? It's like no different than the pirate movies. We've been conditioned that the pirates, they'll, set sail and sea looking for the treasure that's at the bottom of the ocean, right? There's no treasure that's at the bottom of the ocean. The treasure is you. The treasure has been everything inside of you this entire time. It's just a matter of whether you want to tap into that treasure and share that treasure with the rest of the world, right? That happens when you evolve. You can't expect everything around you to change without you first changing, right? Because life is a mirror. How you feel about yourself and the feelings that you feel internally is what ultimately gets reflected in the outer world, right? This is why people who are always feeling discord on the inside find themselves getting into issues and problems on the outside world, because people who have this internal discord, this negativity, this anger, this frustration built up, these are the people that lash out on other people in the real world. These are people that burn bridges in the real world, right? And karma's a real thing, right? So what goes around comes around, right? That same negativity is somehow, some way going to make its way back to that person. And it seems like people who are open to giving, who are very charitable, who are always helping other people, it seems like these are the people that end up somehow, some way getting blessed and at some point down the line, right? It's how it all works. So someone says you've changed, Be grateful. Be proud of that. If these are changes that you've made to become better, embrace change because change is a constant in the universe. Things are always changing. The world is always advancing and improving. So if you decide to be someone that stays exactly the same, then you're effectively going to be left behind, right? You are going to be left behind while everyone else is improving with the times. Don't pray or wish for life to get easier. Pray and wish for yourself to get better, and strive and work for yourself to get better, because as you get better, as you improve, that's you evolving. And if you're able to get better and become the best, then the rest of life and the world becomes easy, because then no matter what obstacle comes your way, you'll be able to always remain triumphant because you'll have the right mindset and the right mentality to approach it. So then it doesn't matter what life throws at you, you'll be able to overcome it, right? Some people, they praying for life to get easier because they don't want to change, but life can potentially get a little bit easier. But then what happens when they experience a bump on the road? They're back to the point where they're praying. They're back to the position of being in desperation, right? It's time for you to evolve. It's time for you to level up. It's time for you to embrace growth. And you know you've grown once you decide to start thinking and operating differently, because the thoughts that you think lead to the emotion that you feel, which leads to the action that you take. So a lot of times if you're taking different actions, then it's probably because you're feeling different emotions because you were thinking different thoughts. You are now operating differently, right? The things that used to entertain you that probably weren't the healthiest for you to do back then don't entertain you as much anymore, right? That's you maturing. That's you getting better, right? And I want you to wake up each and every day striving to get better, striving to seek out knowledge and information, because information changes circumstances. Having access to the right piece of information is what can truly propel you forward in life. So always be eager in search for knowledge, because knowledge is potential power. It only becomes true power once the knowledge is applied. Because to know and to not do is to not know at all. You can't say you know something. If it's beneficial information, you can't say you know it if you've never applied it, right? If you learn something new and apply it into your life and make that change, that is how you evolve, right? And the art of evolution, that is in harmony with the universe. That's you growing. You're going to get older and you're going to, reach different stages in your life. So you want to evolve so that you can adapt with everything. And you want to evolve so that you can get better, so that if you become better, then guess what? Everything around you must improve. Everything around you must also evolve. It must elevate. And then from there, that is how you can create the life that you've always wanted to live. So that rest of the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe as you're on the road to a million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.